Top Google engineer abandons company and reveals big tech rewrote algorithms to target Trump. A big tech whistleblower said Google altered its algorithm in order to ensure that negative stories from the establishment media about former President Donald Trump were what people saw when using the highest traffic website on the internet. Zach Voorhies, cousin of Jason, who previously worked for Google, said in an interview with the Epoch Times that the tech titan specifically tailored its news algorithm to harm the former president. You know what the funny thing is? It didn't even matter. Ultimately, it didn't matter. There are definitely, and as we know by Dr. Robert Epstein, there were ultimately in 2016, he said anywhere from 2 to like 12 million votes that may have been swayed by search engine manipulation, subconscious brainwashing, pretty much. Subconscious brainwashing. It might have swayed that many millions of people to vote for Hillary Clinton. All of those people thinking that their convictions were actually their own. And that was in 2016. Now, whatever the hell they threw at us in the lead up to 2020, obviously it was probably the kitchen sink. You remember after 2016, we heard a little bit of those morning meetings at Google where it was really almost like a group therapy session. People are crying, talking about how we have to get all of our resources out there to prevent what happened in 2016 what happened in 2016. An election took place and your person didn't win. It was almost as if, something was broken because something was broken and we could have done better because we didn't get our way. Like, no, you had a repulsive candidate, and all the king's horses and all the king's men could not make her president. So despite all of the Google efforts in the lead up to 2016, it didn't work. So what could have been done in 2020? I don't know. I think really, I'm not doubting that this stuff is insidious, and they definitely put everything they could out there to help their cause. But for the most part, the media's greatest use, or the media's greatest, their greatest plan was really going out there and throwing up a smokescreen and trying to legitimize ahead of time what was going to be the obvious play, the only way they could have won in November. If they thought that all they needed to do was screw with the algorithms and people were going to vote for Joe Biden in November, then we would not have gotten the Axios article talking about there's going to be a red mirage. It's going to look like Donald Trump swept through the entire country. But don't worry. That's going to gradually turn into a Joe Biden squeaker by the end of the next week. That they wouldn't have in June and July put out Stacey Abrams and Hillary Clinton saying whatever you do. Oh, Stacey Abrams was pretty much out there to try to tell people, so we got to stop looking at election night as election night. It's not going to be one night anymore. Because, of course, we've got this mail-at-home scheme. That's when they were talking about all of the mail-in ballots and the woe is me stuff about the U.S. Postal Service. Hillary Clinton telling Joe Biden he should not concede under any circumstances until all of their team members do what need to be done. Do not concede, Joe. Don't concede. Okay? Wink, wink. Don't concede. Stay put. So what could Google really have done aside from helping with the smokescreen here? Obviously, over 95% of anything published about Donald Trump was going to be negative. But let's get back to this. Voorhies has written a book about his experience working at Google. He said he wanted to take conspiracy theory and turn it into conspiracy fact by sharing the practices he saw as a longtime former employee working on both Google and YouTube projects. People kind of suspect that this is happening, that certain keyword triggers things within the algorithm. That's actually happening, he said. He told The Times, noting that newly written stories about Trump were digitally married with older ones to ensure they remained at the top of search results. They actually have that. They show like graph a tree, and they say this, they say actually this forms a super story that spans 8 days, he said. So with the Trump former FBI Director James Comey thing that was going on, they're able to keep the stories boosted all the way at the top because the algorithm was able to fold a news story into the stories that were preceding it in the last 5 days. I should actually, when we get him on the show, I have to remember to ask him about news stories being written by AI itself. They allowed the mainstream media to structure their stories so that they could remain at the top of their search index, of their news index, he continued. Voorhies' new book called Google Leaks, A Whistleblower's Expose of Big Tech Censorship, the book dropped earlier this month. Quote, the madness of big tech and their attempt to mold our reality into a version compatible with their globalist view of the world has never been portrayed better than this chilling account by Google whistleblower, the book's listing on Amazon states. As a senior engineer at Google for many years, Zach was aware of their bias, but watched in horror as the 2016 election of Donald Trump seemed to drive them into dangerous territory. The American ideal of an honest, hard-fought battle of ideas, when the contest is over, shaking hands and working things out to solve problems, was replaced by a different, darker ethic alien to this country's history, the description adds. I would also say, but then again, that would require another addendum to the book, is that the darker ethic was also part of a very long string of crimes that needed to remain covered up so that the only person who could ever occupy the White House, if Hillary Clinton lost to Jeb Bush, they would have gotten over it. Trust me. They would have gotten over it. They would have gotten over it. And Jeb would be taught to heal quickly. He'd be wearing a collar, a dog collar, and Mitch McConnell would keep him in line. Voorhies said that he left Google in 2019 with 950 pages of internet documents and gave them to the Justice Department. It's unclear what, if anything, the DOJ did with those documents. They wiped their ass with it. Voorhies also made the documents public with the help of Project Veritas in 2019. The former employee previously told Project Veritas, the founder, James O'Keefe, how he was able to get a hold of the documents from his former employer in 2019. These documents were available to every single employee within the company that was full-time. And so as a full-time employee of the company, I just searched for some keywords and these documents started to pop up, he said. And so once I started finding one document and started finding keywords for other documents, I would start to enter that in and continue this cycle until I had a treasure trove and an archive of documents that clearly spelled out the system that they were attempting to do in very clear language. He concluded, Google, Facebook, and big tech oligarchs represent the Trojan horse for totalitarianism, he said. And those documents are pretty huge, especially the countless pages of blacklisted search terms. There are at least 12 pages just of blacklisted search terms on that have to do with Las Vegas, the Las Vegas shooting alone. So that's crazy. And then yesterday, Donald Trump saw it. In case you missed it, Save America. Donald Trump, Save America. President Donald Trump, August 19th, 2021. He simply says, wow. As he shares the article, former Google employee reveals company changed news algorithm to target President Trump. And Zach tweeted that out, half jokingly reminded everyone last night that he is not in any way suicidal. So that's, he's out there doing his thing.